Deep in Alta Verapaz, beyond paved roads and deep into the green, there is a private forest where turquoise water runs through limestone. Waterfalls disappear into the trees and one of them comes straight out of a cave. But getting here, that's part of the adventure. Welcome to Finca Sacmoc. If most of the Guatemala you've seen looks like Antigua, Lake Atitlán, or Guatemala City, Alta Verapaz is going to feel completely different. As you travel north, the landscape begins to change. The forest gets denser, the roads get quieter, rivers appear between the trees, limestone shapes the landscape, and everything starts to feel a little farther removed from the Guatemala most international visitors know. And hidden inside of all of that is Finca Sacmoc. The finca is about 38 kilometers, roughly 24 miles by road from Coban. That may not sound very far, but here distance doesn't tell the whole story. Part of the journey is paved. In the final 19 kilometers, about 12 miles are unpaved. The road becomes rougher, narrower, and much more rural, so this isn't the kind of place where you simply type the address into your phone and expect an easy highway drive all the way to the entrance. You need to plan ahead. Road conditions can change, especially after heavy rain, and a high clearance of four-wheel drive vehicle can make the journey much easier. But here's something important to know. You don't necessarily have to drive the entire route yourself. Finca Sacmoc can arrange transportation from the Reserva Sachichaj area in Chisec to the property. So if you're visiting from the US, Canada, or the UK and you're not comfortable driving rural roads in Guatemala, that can make the final part of the journey much easier. Just contact the finca before your visit to confirm availability and coordinate the details. And once you arrive, the road suddenly makes sense. The first major waterfall is Catarata Sapurcaaq. This is the postcard waterfall. Sapurcaaq drops approximately 43 meters, around 140 feet, through dense green forest into a striking turquoise pool below. To reach it, you follow a trail of roughly 650 meters and 4/10 of a mile. Beneath the forest canopy, and the approach is part of the experience. You hear the forest around you. The humidity settles in, and somewhere ahead you begin to hear the water. Then the trees open up, and there it is, Sapurcaaq. This is one of those places where you don't really need anyone to tell you what to look at. For a few seconds, you just stop. The white water, the turquoise below, the forest wrapping around everything, and the sound of the waterfall filling the space around you. It feels dramatic without feeling artificial. And after the road and the walk to get there, seeing it for the first time feels like a reward. If you only had time to see one waterfall at Sacmoc, this will probably be the obvious choice. It's the one you immediately want to photograph. But if you stop here, you miss a completely different side of the finca. Because then there is Catarata Sehacu, and Sehacu doesn't reveal itself in quite the same way. You may hear it before you fully see it. The sound gets louder as you approach, and then you realize something unusual. The water isn't simply falling over an exposed cliff. It's coming out of the mountain. The waterfall bursts from the mouth of a cave, emerging from the limestone landscape before crashing down into the forest below. There is something almost unreal about seeing it for the first time. Darkness inside the cave, bright water pouring out, green vegetation surrounding everything, and right in front of the falls, there is a hanging bridge. Walking across it puts you almost face to face with Sehacu. You hear the water thunder. You feel the mist in the air, and the movement of the bridge makes you very aware that you're standing right in the middle of the landscape. This is one of those experiences that a photograph can show but not really explain. A photo can capture the waterfall, but it can give you the sound. It can give you the humidity, and it definitely can give you the feeling of standing on the bridge while water is coming out of a cave right in front of you. If Sapurcaaq is the postcard, Sehacu is the plot twist. But what I like about Sacmoc is that the experience isn't only about the two big waterfall reveals. As you continue exploring, the landscape becomes quieter. You find smaller cascades moving between rocks, clear water running through the forest, natural pools, and river channels disappearing beneath vegetation. And suddenly, the experience becomes less about reaching the next viewpoint and more about following the water. There are moments here where nothing dramatic needs to happen. You just hear the river, watch the trees move, notice the rocks beneath the water, and remember that you are in a remote part of Alta Verapaz, surrounded by forest. That quieter side of Sacmoc is part of what makes the place feel special. It doesn't feel like a polished, dim park built around one perfect photo. It feels natural, rural, and connected to the landscape around it. You'll also find the Rio Chisec, another beautiful part of the property where the clear water becomes part of the experience. And if you want to spend more time here, Sacmoc offers more than just a quick stop at a waterfalls. But before you come, there are a few practical things international visitors should know. First, wear the right shoes. This is not Antigua, where the biggest challenge is walking over cobblestones. Here, you're dealing with forest trails, rocks, dirt, wet surfaces, and potentially muddy conditions. Bring hiking shoes or sturdy footwear with good grip. And if you're planning to get into the water shoes are a good idea too. Second, bring water and be prepared for heat and humidity. Even a relatively short walk can feel very different in this climate, so take your time. Third, don't dip completely on your phone. Once you're traveling into more rural parts of Alta Verapaz, cell phone coverage can become unreliable. Download anything important before you leave. Directions, reservation details, contact information, and offline maps. And if you're driving independently, make sure you know the route before heading out. Now let's talk about money. One nice thing about Finca Sacmoc is that they do accept card payments. So if you're visiting from the US, Canada, or the UK, you don't necessarily need to rely entirely on cash once you arrive here. But I'd still carry some Guatemalan cues with you, because this is something you need to understand about traveling through Alta Verapaz. Payment options can change dramatically from one destination to another one. A place like Sacmoc may accept cards, but another river, smaller attraction, local food stop, or more remote community-run destination may prefer cash. So don't assume that because your card worked at one place, it will work everywhere. Carry some cues. It can save you a lot of unnecessary stress. And that's one of the things we're going to keep showing you throughout Guatemala Edition. The practical details matter because the beautiful place is much easier to enjoy when you already know what to expect. So before coming to Sacmoc, contact the finca, confirm the latest road conditions, ask about transportation from Reserva Sachichaj if you need it. Confirm current entrance fees and activities, and if you're planning to eat or spend more time at a property, ask about those arrangements in advance too. A little planning goes a long way here, because once you arrive, you don't want to be thinking about logistics. You want to be looking at this, a 140-foot waterfall dropping through the forest, turquoise water beneath you, a hanging bridge in the mist, a 140-foot waterfall dropping through the forest, turquoise water beneath you, a hanging bridge in the mist, and a river coming straight out of a cave. That's what makes Alta Verapaz different. It asks you to go a little farther. The roads can be rougher, destinations can feel more remote. Your phone may lose signal, you may need cash, and sometimes you need to ask a few questions before you leave. But then you arrive somewhere like this and suddenly all of that makes sense. Because Guatemala isn't only colonial streets, colorful markets, and volcano views. It's also caves, forests, turquoise rivers, remote roads, and waterfalls hidden deep enough in the landscape that getting there becomes part of the story. Finca Sacmoc gives you a glimpse of that Guatemala. Sapurcaaq is the one you photograph, Sehacu is the one you remember hearing, and the forest between them is the part that reminds you where you actually are. Alta Verapaz, a completely different side of Guatemala. And this is only the beginning. I'm Ruth. This is Guatemala Edition. Discover the real Guatemala, one chapter at a time.